Is it finally time to cut the cord and go with a wireless gaming mouse? Are you worried about battery life or latency? Well, you've come to the right place. I am Swappy, and today we're going to review Glorious PC Gaming Race's Model O wireless mouse. Let us begin. Glorious's Model O wireless is the fourth mouse in their lineup. From the original Model O wired to the Model O minus to the Model D, all four of them I've purchased and used in the past. Out of the box, you'll get the mouse, the USB cable, USB dongle, which will connect to the mouse wirelessly, and a USB adapter. The mouse itself has a USB-C port, but ironically, the USB-C cable can only be plugged in one way. The Model O wireless is a full-size ambidextrous shaped mouse with side thumb buttons on the left side for right-handed players only. The scroll wheel and sides of the mouse have customizable RGB lights that are controlled with downloadable software. The bottom includes a DPI indicator, on-off switch, and 4 G-skates for low-friction glide on any surface. I use mine on a Glorious keyboard and mouse pad, and it gives me just the right amount of friction with very little effort. As for comfort and size, I typically wear extra large gloves, and the Model O is the best size for my hands. The O minus is a little too small. The Model D is just a little bit too big. It's great for ergonomics, but for gaming, I would like a little bit smaller. I typically grip the mouse with a fingertip style with a slight bit of my palm rested, so kind of a hybrid grip. And this is the perfect mouse for me. I absolutely love the size of it, the shape of it. It just fits really naturally. All the buttons are responsive with a quiet clicking sound when pressing. The scroll wheel is silky smooth with a slight bump feedback to indicate a single turn, pivot, or click. The texture of the scroll wheel is just right to never have your finger slip off. Per specs, the weight of the mouse is 69 grams, even though mine came in just a tad bit more, and quite frankly, this could just be my scale. This is quite amazing considering this has a battery in it and it only weighs 2 grams more per specs than the wired version. My wired version is over a year old and likely has collected a lot of dust and oil to influence its current heavier weight. I'm definitely intrigued by Logitech's Pro X Superlight Gaming Wireless Mouse. It weighs in at 63 grams, but is about double the price of the Model O wireless. So something to consider if you're looking at both of those mice. Battery life on the Model O wireless is spec'd at 71 hours per charge. However, that is if the RGB lights are completely turned off. And honestly, what fun is that? I have mine set around 10%, and I'm easily getting about 2 to 3 days. Obviously not all the way to the 72 hours, but I'm easily getting more than 2 days charge with this. I also have the RGB light set to turn off after 10 minutes of inactivity. Now, if you've ever used a wireless mouse before, a non-gaming version, it's not a really good comparison. And the reason being is those mice typically use real batteries like AA or AAA batteries, which are gonna weigh a ton and make that mouse feel really, really heavy, probably over north of 100 grams. Whereas you're looking at gaming mice that are 70 grams and under, it's really not a fair comparison. And those battery lives last 6 months easily. And so if you're really used to not charging your mouse or changing the batteries every 6 months, this will be a slight adjustment. But the nice thing is this mouse and most other wireless mouse can be used while they're plugged in and charging. With the Model O wireless, it takes literally 1 to 2 hours to get to a full charge. So even if you're going to be plugged in, it's not going to take long. I will say this though, that when the mouse is plugged in, the weight distribution does shift a little bit because of the extra weight on the front. But after a couple minutes of playtime, I don't really notice it. Moving to the software. The downloadable software enables you to completely control your mouse, starting with the RGB lighting, such as color, brightness, and color effects, such as a single color, breathing, and wave effects, and many, many others. In the performance section, you can set all your DPI settings, including assigning them a color, which you'll see underneath the mouse with the DPI indicator. I don't change my DPI settings, that's why you see all of them set to 800. You can also customize your key bindings if you want to reprogram them. One thing I do which really helps me know when I need to charge the mouse is I change the DPI button, which is near the scroll wheel, to be a battery status check instead, which when I turn it on will flash the scroll wheel a different color to represent the power level. So green means full, red means time to charge. Lastly, there are some general settings in the bottom left-hand corner where you can set when you want your RGB lighting to turn off. One nitpick is that by default, the auto launch on startup is enabled. Why? Just why? The software isn't needed for the mouse to run, and given this is a gaming mouse, having unnecessary apps running in the background aren't ideal. Even if this takes little to no resources, I recommend turning the setting off. You can always launch from time to time to get software firmware updates. For connectivity issues, I've had this mouse for 4 months now and I've seen 0 issues. It's never missed a mouse click. It's never missed a swipe or a scroll. It's been perfect. 0 drops. Now I do have the doggle about 5 to 10 inches away depending on when I'm moving my mouse for gameplay. And I do recommend keeping it close just to remove any type of interference, but it's been perfect. One of the big questions or drawbacks in the past around wireless gaming mice is the increased latency compared to wired, which would result in getting clapped more often. I performed a reaction test comparing the Model O wireless, both in its wireless and wired states, along with the original Model O wired mouse. The results were nearly identical with my boomer-like reflexes. All of the averages came out to be right around 175 milliseconds. So overall, I did not see any latency issues with the mouse in its wireless form at all. Just none. So maybe if you are an elite gamer and you have really good reflexes, maybe you'll see something. It needs more testing to find that out. But for me, 0 issues. I have 100% confidence in the wireless ability of this mouse. Now I did have one issue with this mouse about 2 months in where I did have to call support, and I don't bring this up to talk about quality issues or anything like that, but I do bring this up because Glorious PC Gaming Races customer support is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I reached out to them through email and got a response within probably an hour. We went back and forth trying to do some videos to show what was my issue. And within a couple hours, they were like, go ahead and here's a label, return it back to us. Once we know that you've shipped it, we'll mail you a new one back. And within less than a week, I had my replacement mouse in there and I've had no issues since then. And again, this is not a quality issue that I want to point out. No matter what product you buy, there's always going to be some defects or something that happens over a period of time that is covered under warranty. And the clear separation between a good company and a great company is their customer support. And after my experience with Glorious, the customer support, I'm a huge fan. I will remain a fan. Overall, this is a fantastic mouse and is my daily driver. It is comfortable, responsive, without any issues, and the battery life is good. Everything I want in a gaming mouse. If you're still deciding between the Model O wired versus the wireless version, I recommend seriously consider getting the wireless. Now, there is a price difference. The wired comes in at $49.99, the wireless is at $70.99. But if you think about it, if you get the wired version, you're more than likely going to get a bungee next, because you're going to not want to have the wire being pulled down from the PC or having any of that additional drag. And so you're going to get a bungee, and the bungees cost usually anywhere between $10 and $30 depending if you get a brand name or not. So at that point, you're looking at basically equal pricing for both. And if you think about it, the wireless is just freeing. It's so smooth. Like there's no wires. You're never going to get caught on anything. You don't have to worry about latency. Really, the only downside is that if you rage and throw it across the room, you're going to have to go get it. That's the only downside, literally. Well, that is it for me. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot to me. And if you want to see future videos, subscribe to the channel. I do all kinds of random stuff on this stuff. I do reviews, I do a lot of Fortnite videos and food videos, and who knows what in the future. It's pretty much a random channel. I'm still figuring out what I want to go do, but all the content is from me. So if you like this content, you'll like the other content as well. If you have any questions or comments on this video, put them down below. I pretty much read everything and respond to everything. And if you have suggestions for new videos, other things you want me to review, put those down as well. I'd love to see them, see what I can do next. Until next time, we'll see you later. I'm definitely intrigued by Logitech's new Super G wireless vibrating torch. I'm intrigued by Superlight's Pro G's ginormous jaw. I'm definitely intrigued by Logitech's Pro G Pro X son of a